What's a computer?
Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the YouTube channel. Today we are joined with Drew Erickson from Tailosive Tech for this episode of a conversation with him. Super excited to have you on the show, Drew. I've been watching your channel for an extremely long time. It's even been since the attic videos of you doing those videos in the attic. Yeah, dude. I was a diehard Apple sheep for the longest time until just recently with the iOS 11 bug that's been killing me. No. But yeah, so yeah, it's insane how many bugs I've been having recently.
It's weird. It depends on who you ask. Because if I ask someone like John, it's serious. And if I ask someone like I update OS, like Sam, he's with me. He doesn't see where it's coming from. It's been on and off for everyone. There
was a month where I actually had to reboot my iPhone 7 5 times a day.
Wow. Yeah, I never had anything that bad.
Okay, so I kind of want to talk about how we got here into this conversation. I know we called you out on Twitter with the whole conversation with podcasts, but how did you kind of hear about me, and how did we get into this conversation?
Well, mostly you have been very outspoken with a lot of people who work on the Tailosive Tech podcast as well, which is both Randy Vazquez and Nick Ann Sweeney, and they were the ones who introduced me to you. They said there's this really inspiring story and this growing YouTuber who's really interested in talking to you. And I was like, yeah, I get this a lot. Okay, I'll get used to it. Yeah, whatever. But then I looked up your channel and started watching your stuff and heard more about, your backstory and what brought you to this time. And I just personally found that incredibly inspiring because, well, first of all, I think that, how long ago was the stroke?
2 years now.
Okay, so 2 years ago, I think that personally, knowing a lot of people in my life, that many would have looked at that as an excuse to not do a lot. Many people would look at that as an excuse to do whatever you want or live life in a crazy way. And a lot of the things you were saying in your videos, I felt like were things I've said myself. And that's what was so interesting about it. I was like, I feel like I'm the same guy because you were saying things like, the line that stuck out to me was, I don't want to be regret my teens. Like so many people do, which is something I grew up with in high school a lot. Just everyone just acting like this age in life doesn't matter. So just do whatever you want because this is the age to be stupid, and then later you'll be normal. And I just found it,
and then you get thrown into the adult world, and it's just
you have these terrible habits and everything. Yeah. But yeah, personally, after watching a lot of your videos, I started thinking like, man, this guy's like really looking at life, I think, in a healthy way, which is that, you don't have to worry about the important stuff later. You should be trying to make the most of it in every moment. So yeah, that's when I really started being like, okay, no, I actually want to talk to this guy. I don't think it, because we get requests like that all the time of people like,
I can imagine.
Yeah, come up on my channel. And it's not that I don't want to, it's just that we have to be very selective with the amount of time we have to spare because a lot of the time with this network, it's just a lot of like, okay, do we have time for this or do we have time for this? It's always running out of time for everything. So 100%, we have to be very selective about that. Yeah. So that's how this conversation, I'd say, started. Was
awesome.
I saw that you were a fan of the Tailosive network, and then on top of that, I became a fan of you. So now I watch your stuff.
That's great. Awesome. Yeah. So the whole idea of the conversation with show is to kind of like get the origin story, as you said before we were filming this, the origin story of the network or the channel that was launched with the creative entrepreneur. And for you have a whole network of channels. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 10 channels over here.
They keep growing. There's too many.
Yeah, I know it keeps growing. You got to, geez whiz, it's too many to count and keep up with.
I don't even know.
But I kind of want to. I just kind of want to know why did you have so many channels? Like, where did Tailosive come from? How did you and your friends get the idea, and with the Saturday Shorts, and how did you grow? I want to get all the way to the point of the tech channel blowing up this past year.
Yeah, well, for sure. This is a very interesting story, and probably the reason, a lot of people are like, why don't you do like a Draw My Life or something, or just like go over everything, is because I say it's still happening. Like all of the really exciting stuff, like moving to an office and then moving to Chico, and then like the Marquez collaboration, I think was a big moment in my career. All those things have happened within like the last 10 months. Like it's not been going on for very long. So I kind of want to wait and see where this story goes before we like document it officially. Yeah. But yeah, it all started with me just being interested in, I think, animation. I wanted to be a Pixar animator, and then
really
just trying to do that. So anytime I was interested in a type of career, I wanted to train for that. I wanted to go like 100% into it. So I started animating little 2D stick figures at a very young age. Found out I don't like animation. You just sit at a desk all day and it's kind of boring. I was too obsessed with the end product and not the process, which is what I've discovered. A lot of people will choose a career because they're just satisfied with the end product and not really interested in the process. And I think that can result to a unhappy lifestyle if it's not, it's not like every job can have a fun process. You know, like, I don't know, being a garbage man is probably kind of tricky to make fun out of that, but yeah, for me at least, I was like, okay, I like animated movies and stuff, but this isn't working. So then a friend of mine at school introduced me to filming stuff with a camera, and that's when we started making the really cringy skits, and most of them were not comedy. We actually started with making action scenes and like horror stuff, and we were terrible at it because, you know, we were like sixth graders. So everything we made was acted horribly, edited horribly, filmed horribly. So we were uploading them to YouTube because I was just discovering that in around that age, the 7th to 8th grade age, was that you could be in charge of your own channel, which was really cool to me. I was just discovering YouTubers and being like, oh, they're not owned by a company or anything. They just want to make this stuff, so they get to make it. And I was like, that's really cool. You have complete control over your content. So I want to do that. And back then, I think everyone was just in kind of the iCarly phase, which was, if you upload something, it might just get viral, and you don't know why. It just might. So if you upload something, you could win the lottery. So let's just start uploading something, and one day we'll wake up and have millions of views. So that was the mindset for a while, was just, let's just keep uploading. A couple of years go by, and we're like, okay, this is going nowhere. I think the average number of views on each video was probably around 10 and under. You know, like no real fan base of any kind, and most of those 10 views was ourselves looking at them and showing them to our friends. I can relate to that.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
There was a big stretch of time. I'll say I've still spent more time making bad movies than okay movies. Not great, but just movies people watch. Yeah. I would say is different than what we used to make. There were still years and years of that compared to what we're doing now. So then afterwards, I started realizing, well, no one's really interested in our action stuff or our, you know, horror stuff. So what if we made something maybe people are more interested in? So maybe we could break into comedy, because maybe at least with comedy, people could get some entertainment value out of it, because we're not good at filming stuff, you know, cinematically or acting wise. We're just not that good. Mm-hmm. So let's try a different genre. So that's kind of the running theme with, I think, my career, was just trying different things. So the next thing was comedy. So then for a couple of years, that's when Tailosive actually formed. It was my own personal channel for a while. Originally, me and my friends had like a collective channel that any of us could film anything and upload to. But in the end, none of them were doing it, and it was just me anyway. So that's when we started Tailosive, because I was like, okay, let's put me in charge, because I seem to be the motivated one, the one who wants to do everything. So we did Tailosive, and then the Saturday shorts started for 3 years, I think, without stop. Every Saturday, no exceptions. There had to be a short up. And those did a little better. I was still doing those into high school, and for a while I worked on feature films, and on occasion I would still work on action stuff. Still not very good, but I was still doing that here and there. Until probably later into, I think, to give you a timeline, it was around 2015 or 16 when I started saying, you know, I don't think anyone cares about my kidnapping action movie. It's just, we'd work for hours and hours and hours, and editing would take, literally, it took us a whole year to make a feature film. It was like an hour and 20 minutes. Wow. And it's not good. People don't like it. People don't like watching themselves in it. People on the internet don't care about it. So let's just stick to comedy. So then we started doing web series. We started doing 2, sometimes 3 web series at a time. So we'd be doing a Saturday short every Saturday, and then Completely Irrelevant on Tuesdays, and then the Computer Lab every Thursday. So I was uploading on one channel like 3 edited shows at the same time. And that's probably where I got the bulk of my editing experience, was I was basically like probably neglecting a lot of homework just so I could edit stuff. And again, it wasn't really captivating an audience still. Each video would get 10, 15 views. If we got 100, that was the biggest thing ever. So eventually I started thinking, okay, well, maybe the problem is my name being Tailosive. No one's looking for that. No one's searching for Tailosive funny skit videos. So basically, we're making stuff, even if it is funny, even if people like it, it's not fulfilling.
There's no way to find you.
Right, and there's no demand. No one's looking for this. Like even besides the name, there's just no one's on YouTube being like, I wonder if there's more 3-minute comedy skits I can watch. So I was like, let's start making stuff people are looking for. And that was when I got the idea to do the network, which was, you know, I have thoughts on tech. I was watching a lot of tech YouTubers all throughout my life. It never clicked to make a tech video. I was always the Apple sheep in the comment section, you know, the 10-year-old like ranting at people.
I used to be the same guy.
Yeah, I could get into those big. I've been banned when I was younger from several channels from commenting because of how I would comment. Yeah, just the extent to how long my comments were and how I would respond to everyone, and they all didn't like me. I've been banned when I was younger, not so much anymore, but I was a lot.
Yeah.
Just because they thought I was over the top. So then, obviously, I was getting into high school sophomore year, and I was like, okay, if I really want this to be a career, I need to start thinking about my angle here, because I've been doing this for 5, 6, 7 years, and we're not getting any result out of it. We haven't received a single Google check. We're getting nothing. So let's rethink our strategy. And then that's when I was like, you know, I have thoughts on tech. I could do videos about that. I even have thoughts on certain video games. So we could do gaming. And I love watching movies. That's why I wanted to make movies. What if we had a channel where we talk about the movies we're watching? And then the vlogging was kind of an afterthought. I didn't really watch many vlogs. But just like a lot of people's careers, sometimes the most successful thing is when they don't really expect, because we made the Tailosive Talks channel kind of after everything else. It was kind of like, you know, if we want to just sit down and talk and have social commentary conversations about whatever we're thinking, let's have that option too. And now that's the second biggest channel. That channel's actually paying for itself now. So that kind of exploded too. So it's, tech obviously took off once I started taking the Apple bias perspective, because I did the tech channel for about a year being totally fair, not doing any kind of Apple catering. I would just say, oh, this phone is good and this phone is good. They have pros and cons. Pick what's best for you. I was doing what everyone else was doing. And then eventually I was like, well, this isn't working. Let's just go big or go home. So that's when I started just going, no, Apple's better. I'm just going to tell the world that and suffer the consequences. And that's when things started to take out. I think the first video, I'll always remember this, the first video to kind of take off and start where people started watching it that I didn't know, because typically the only people watching Tailosive were people I showed them at high school or something, and they'd be like, oh, sure, I'll subscribe. But when people I didn't know started watching was the iPhone 6S battery case. When that came out, everyone was hating on it, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to defend it because I like Apple, and I don't think it makes sense to hide that I'm biased, because I feel like I was. I had a PC and a Mac, and I was reviewing Android phones, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. So that's when everything took off. And, you know, I think the audience, or at least my audience, knows what happened from there. Everything grew. Things got bigger. I was able to quit my job last year. So, yeah, I think that's kind of the backstory of how we got here. And obviously, there's been lots of interesting things that have happened along the way, between the Marquez collaboration, the new offices, and new cameras. Yeah. So that keeps us up to speed.
I know you've gone somewhere in depth with the whole 2X experiment and moving into 2X. But do you want to talk about like that moving time between going from your tiny little office filming those tech videos into this huge studio and just getting through that point? Because I know there were some issues with like renting and you know, different people wanting the space that you guys were in.
Right.
So
it was a nightmare. Yeah, it was. First of all, that first office back in Oroville, we thought that was huge when we first got it. It was September 1st was our first day there. Compared to the attic, that was a landmine. We were like, oh my God, that was a gold mine. I don't know why I said we found it, and our landlord, who's still our same landlord, he owns property all over the county, so he hooked us up here as well. But he showed it to us because it was kind of a dump. There wasn't much there. It was kind of in a very secluded spot, which is why no business had took it, was just because he was like, well, no one really wants this, so I'll give you guys a huge discount if you do want it. And there's no lease or anything, and the cleaning deposit we could pay off monthly, not all up at front. So he's just the nicest guy, and he said, I will redo all the carpets for you. Like, he's still the nicest guy. We still talk to him here and there. For the most part, we're all good. But yeah, that place was a miracle because Verizon's LTE service was how we did everything. We uploaded via my phone's hotspot. We live streamed via my phone. But my house had no Wi-Fi. There was no way we could upload from that. So then we got the alert that in a couple of months, Verizon, literally 1 month, and I was still in the attic at the time, 1 month from now, Verizon was going to down throttle you after you exceeded a certain gigabyte on your hotspot. So I was like, what are we going to do? Like,
seriously?
I'd have to go back to going to a friend's house to upload every single time I want to upload, which was 2 to 3 times a day. And live streaming would be near impossible. And I was like, what's going to happen? So that's what kind of triggered us to start looking. And yeah, that was a really lucky find there. And we're very grateful we found that space. But yeah, once we got moved in there, we started filling it up with more equipment, and the rooms had different purposes and stuff like that. That's how quickly we were like, no, okay, this is a little tiny now. Once we got it.
Yeah, what was also funny is that the tech room, which was also the biggest channel, had the smallest room.
Right. I don't really know why I went for that. It was mostly because the main lobby had big old windows. And we were kind of like, well, we don't want people walking by in the street able to look in the window and just see all this expensive stuff. So the main idea was, like, the gaming room had TVs and consoles and PCs, and the tech room had, of course, had all those stuff. So we were like, let's put those in the back where there's like no windows. That way they won't be able to see them. And then the lobby will just be kind of our hangout spot. There won't be any tech in there. So that was the mindset. But it was kind of backed us into a corner later because, then we're trying to film stuff in the tech room and I'm scooting around desks and we're cramped and every angle is exactly the same.
And then as you upgrade to like the Blackmagic camera with it being just so much more space.
Oh, yeah. It would have been, what we're doing now would have been definitely impossible, especially when we got the new desk, because all my stuff was falling off my desk all the time. So I was like, I need a new one, and this barely fit in there. So then the 2X process, to answer your question, is that we had to, I wanted to stay committed and make sure we still uploaded every day while renovating this place, because this place was also a dump, but there really wasn't a better option. We looked around at some other places because we were getting surrounded at that old place, and he was like, these people really want that spot right in the middle, and they're willing to pay me more, so it would help me out a lot if you guys could relocate to a different space, and I'll cut you a discount again. So then he was like, well, how about this spot, because the square footage is really good. It's kind of crappy, but I'll help you renovate it. So he helped us with a lot of the painting, a lot of the carpeting and the drywall. And it was like working on this place every day for 6 weeks while also trying to make sure we upload every day, while also not telling anyone about what we're working on.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like a different building. It's like we don't go there anymore because the first time we walked in here, it was so crappy and it's so abandoned. We were like, how is this going to be anything? This was worse than the first place was. And we would come here and just try to brainstorm. Like, certain rooms just had no carpet. This place wasn't occupied for like 10 years or something. So there was leaks in the ceiling and everything. And we were like, oh yeah, what is this going to become? So we'd be like, I guess this could be tech and this could be gaming. And so, it was just weeks and weeks of a lot of sleepless nights because I still had my live streams to do 11:30 at night for the different time zones. And I was very grateful to have my editor, Nathan, being able to edit the tech vids back then, so that I just had to film them. Literally, the last video we filmed in that office, there was nothing left. It was just that wall we left untouched.
Yeah.
We set up the camera, hit record, and then as soon as we stopped recording, pulled everything off the wall, and we were out of there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I missed that place. It's kind of cute, but yeah, this was definitely better, and I'm glad this moving process is over. I'm hoping we stay here for a long time, because that renovation was killer. That took a long time to move. Yeah.
And this is also a question: were you still uploading regularly on all the other channels, or were you more just focused on the tech channel during that time?
Yeah, during the 2X renovation time, we had to scale back a lot of other channels' work.
Oh, yeah.
And still to this day, we've kind of scaled back a ton of projects, like the Tailosive Cinematic Universe over on the main channel kind of had to all get put on hold just because we had to focus on making sure we had internet, and that channel doesn't make any money. We had to focus on the tech channel. So a lot of things have still been put on the back plate. When I switched to the Blackmagic, I couldn't really send footage to Nathan anymore. So I had to start editing them myself again. So I didn't want to fire Nathan and have nothing for him to do. So that's when I started trying to do the daily vlogs again. Now he's busy with school stuff, so there's not as many vlogs. And so there's a bunch of priority things that get mixed up all the time with the Tailosive network, but we're hoping this summer when we can hopefully get Nathan on full time. We're not 100% sure that can happen, but we're going to try to. Try to get him on full time so that we could have consistency on everything. That's always been the goal ever since the network started, was what if we could upload like daily or semi-daily, not like main channel skits and stuff. That probably wouldn't come out daily, but most of the other channels on a semi-daily basis, that would be ideal. So that's
and
still
what's
the
also
goal.
great. Yeah, and what's also great is that with the tech channel, with it blowing up, you have so much more reach to grow those other channels. Because as you said, not many people are searching like Tailosive gaming videos and stuff like that. But you're able to promote the gaming channel through your tech channel, and I think that's kind of just like a blessing there with the tech channel blowing up.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always been kind of a whichever channel is the biggest, that will support the others. Like, I'm always considering the idea that if we got Thunder to strike twice in the same place, if some other channel took off, became bigger than tech, now that would become the priority. I'm not saying tech would stop. I'm just saying whichever one is like the biggest or has the most income. That's what I define by biggest. Like if subscribers are higher, but it doesn't result in any revenue, it's not worth it. But yeah, so that the order of priority could definitely change at some point. It doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon, but it could, and in that case, we would adapt to it too. So I like that idea though, because any of these channels, I could switch over to top priority and just be like, okay, this is my job now. This is what I need to focus on.
Yeah, and you said that I think you're gaining like 1,000 subscribers every couple days now on the tech channel.
Yeah, it's kind of blown up in the last couple of weeks. We're kind of slowing down now just because I think less is happening in the news. But yeah, for a couple of weeks there, we had a big old spike where we were gaining, I think for like a week, we were getting 1,000 every 2 days, which was the fastest we've ever grown. We were like, oh my God, this is really cool. But I don't want people to think that my goal is to just blow up as fast as possible. Because I think that can be particularly dangerous. I've seen channels that grow too fast and businesses that grow too fast, and it's really not good for the founders because they don't have the experience or the knowledge of how to handle such a large audience or what works and what doesn't work. So I'm still though very, very satisfied, and you should be too, of a channel's, like I call it a slow burn, like growing up, like not a huge spike one day and suddenly you have 1 million, but just kind of a little bit at a time, because there's a lot of benefits to having a smaller audience that I don't think enough people accept. And relative to other tech YouTubers, I'm still a very small YouTuber, and I think it's really nice that I can interact with fans on a personal level. And I feel like when you and me get bigger, that's slowly going to go away. We'll get to a point where trying to talk with fans one-on-one or getting to know them better, that's going to be more difficult. So yeah, just like don't try to rush through these smaller days. be grateful for them.
I know you recently moved into 2X, but do you have any like future plans other than growing the channels? Like, do you have anything special that you're planning on doing? Because you have tons of stuff you're doing, the podcast, just everything.
So like in terms of like where we work, like an office.
Yeah, are you planning to add anything new to the network? Like, is there anything like new planned?
The only thing there's things that are obviously there's things that I definitely have delayed. I'd say there's whole like feature film projects I have scripted and want to work on, and that's saved for both that Kinda Dead Productions channel, which is what we have saved for short films like epics and action stuff that aren't comedy. There's a bunch of those movies I have planned, and I probably spend too much time working on future projects that I can't afford right now. But I just want people who are expecting things in the future to know that Tailosive is not just going to be tech and vlogs for the whole career. The goal is to get to a point where we're more of like a distributor. But we make our own stuff, like being able to make our own feature films that one day could, I don't know, become Red Originals or become Netflix Originals. That's still kind of the end goal in my mind. We're just, we have to focus on what matters. Like, we can't do those big budget things right now. So that's why we're focusing on what we can do right now, which is the tech stuff. People are interested in that, and the vlogs, podcasts. That's how you grow your audience. But we're hoping that we'll be large enough one day we can produce our own, like, feature professional grade
films.
Stuff. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. But before we wrap up, is there anything that, like, any tips for a lot of the smaller creators? And also, because a lot of my audience are smaller creators, and since you have recently done this and have recently really just blew up your channel and growing, do you have any like tips or tricks that you want to share with everyone? So
I would definitely say what got me through like my whole cringy small YouTube, like dead YouTuber phase, which was uploading stuff that no one was watching. What got me through that was not being afraid to try different things. If you try something for a long time and it just doesn't seem to be working, rethink the plan a little bit, because, like I think it was Einstein who said insanity is just trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I kind of think of that a lot as in, okay, if we're trying something over and over and it's not working, let's not keep doing it. Let's change the game plan a little bit, because if you look at my life and my goals, it all started with, I want to make movies, as in feature films, like serious ones, epics. I didn't want to be a tech journalist. I didn't want to be a comedian. And yet, just from that ability and that mindset of like, well, let's try this for a while. Let's see how this works. All right, it's not working. Let's try this. And just as long as you don't just accept that you can't do it, that you're just a failure, because I think that's what a lot of YouTubers do. They're like, well, I want to do this. I want to be this kind of YouTuber, a vlogger or a techer, and I'm just going to keep trying that until it works. And if it doesn't, they just kind of think, well, I guess I can't. Which I would discourage and just say that, like, well, maybe you can, but you got to wait till scenarios are different. I think part of it for me when I was young and in school wasn't even the fact that I was a bad actor. I think I was just young. It's just the fact that I was a little kid, and people watching little kids throw guns around and pretending to shoot them, it's just, they're not going to believe it, even if I was the best child actor in the world. So we just had to wait for resources to change and see what is the most efficient way we can spend our time and our resources right now. And I still apply that to everyday life is like I can... It's one of the reasons I use Final Cut over Premiere. It's like I can export things much faster. That magnetic timeline is much easier for the type of video we're making, opposed to something like Premiere, which is just going to take longer. So it's not worth it. I'm always looking at efficiency. And the other thing I think a lot of people, especially early YouTubers, are too hard on themselves on is not being comfortable with their face or their voice. That's something I think a lot of people combat with. And really the only way to get over that is basically shock therapy. Just keep looking at yourself, keep listening to yourself, and just accept that everyone else is doing it. So why can't you? You know, everyone else has to look at you. Everyone else has to hear you. So might as well just understand what that's like, even if you don't like it. I didn't like my voice or the way I looked for the longest time, and I've gotten used to it. Now with editing stuff, I'm constantly listening to my voice, and I've gotten used to it. And I'm sure you have that as well. You're getting used to it. Yeah. And I think that's actually healthy for even people who aren't creators, just to understand how you come off in a natural setting. What are there things you do that you don't even realize look weird or look cringy or make you look uncomfortable, and you just don't even notice you're doing that? If you film yourself, if you record yourself, it can kind of let people know that kind of thing, which is, I think, healthy. And yeah, just don't stop trying new things. Don't accept failure, because as Bennett Foddy said for Getting Over It, the game I recently beat, failure is not the falling down, it's the staying down. So falling down, totally normal, but staying down, now that's failure. So we're not actually failing, we're just falling down and getting back up.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to wrap up on. I like what you said there, of just keep creating and just not giving up. And there was a quote that I'm blanking on who said it, but the only things that you fail on are the things you don't do. Exactly.
Very true. And I think, by the way, Paul, you're doing an amazing job.
Thanks, man.
You're far ahead of what I was at that age, and I think I think what's amazing is you've understood a lot of things that you probably get this a lot, but you understand a lot of things that adults later in life don't even understand, which is really, really important. And you should be proud of yourself, be thankful that you have a mind that can think like that, because as I've seen in especially this city and where I've grown up, that's not a very common thing. So I'm very happy to find other people online that can do that.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining the interview, Drew. It's been a pleasure to have you. As I said, I've been watching your channel for a really long time, and it means a whole lot to have you on the show. So guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of A Conversation With. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Is there anything that you want to just wrap up on and say goodbye to the peeps?
Keep watching the both of us. There's amazing things to come. I think there's a whole new... I've been collaborating with a lot of smaller YouTubers or equally sized YouTubers as myself, and I see a new wave of, like genuine honesty that I think is going to lead the future of YouTube. I think we have a current set of like popular mainstream YouTuber right now, and I think that's going to change in the next decade to kind of this new era of just being honest, biased, and genuine. And I think it's going to be better for the viewer overall. Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining the interview. Make sure to leave a comment on the video, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Awesome. Thanks so much. All right.